Sponsored by Belief Cigar Company. Why Not Bar and Grill. Elevation Bar and Lounge. Maximum Tax Service.
Welcome to Grown Man Talking. My name is Devin Banks. Another episode. This one is good. And on this episode, I kind of want to focus on the law. And typically, when we're dealing with the law, we're always talking to a man. Not today. We're going to talk to ladies of the law. And we're not going to judge them. No pun intended. But I have two beautiful magistrates here who are going to discuss some of the personal lives. You'll get a chance to know who they are. And also a little bit about the law that you could possibly learn that you didn't know. So I would like to introduce the ladies of the law. Ladies and gentlemen, Magistrate Pollard.
Thank you.
And Magistrate Purifoy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
So I want people out there to know that this is not AI generated. They actually are beautiful. Don't play. So, yeah. I just want to throw that out there. There's a lot of AI going around. Just want to let them know.
Thank you very much.
So, first of all, welcome to the show. I appreciate you accepting my offer to be here. I think you all both do very important things here in the city with your positions and the positions that you're trying to obtain. Let me rephrase that. The positions that you will obtain. So I appreciate you both for coming. I'm going to try not to be too serious because you all are very serious. I kind of want you to let your hair down, relax. We're not drinking coffee, but we're at a coffee shop. Okay. First, I want people to know who you are. Not because, in my opinion, by the time people see you, it's too late. You know, if they see you with the robe on in court, they've made it too far. So I would like for them to meet you before that. Does that make sense?
It does.
So since you're the closest to me, I'll start with you.
Okay.
Magistrate Mitzi Pollard. She got a lot going on. This is a very, very intelligent lady. A Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from North Carolina Central University. A Juris Doctor from Cecil C. Humphrey School of Law in 2001. Also a background as an engineer and computer programmer, bringing unique problem-solving perspective to her later work as an attorney and judge. Very impressive. After passing the bar, Judge Pollard launched her legal career as a sole practitioner, serving clients for over 12 years. Covering issues like neglect, termination of parent rights, and truancy matters. So if your kid's not going to school, they're going to see her. In September of 2022, Honorable Judge Tariq Sugarman, great guy, reappointed Ms. Pollard to continue serving under his administration. On a personal note, Judge Pollard is married to Mr. Brian K. Pollard. Together, they share 4 adult children and 3 grandsons. Come August 6th, though, 2026, Judge Pollard will appear on the Shelby County ballot as a candidate for Judge Circuit Court Division 3. All right, let's get that a hand.
Thank you.
And I know you will cover that. I know you will. Second, also not AI generated, another beautiful young lady. Magistrate Shayla Purifoy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right. This is a Memphis native. How Memphis? She grew up in Fraser. Touch your neighbor and say Fraser. Raised in Memphis, grew up in Fraser and attended Central High School. Later graduated from Rhodes College, majoring in urban studies, graduating from the U of M School of Law in 2008. Staff attorney for the Memphis Area Legal Services. Magistrate Purifoy was appointed in her current role of judicial commissioner nearly a decade ago, where she rules criminal and civil matters, evidence, objections, navigates multiple dockets, Magistrate Pearl 4 has been awarded by both the Memphis Bar Association and the Ben F. Jones chapter of National Bar Association. She worked on the National Bar Association Ethics Committee and the Ethics Committee for the Coalition of 100 Black Women. Very impressive. In 2020, during COVID, mind you, she led the Ben F. Jones chapter as president through a global pandemic. That is very
Fun
impressive.
times.
Very impressive. She's a current member of the National Council of Negro Women. She is married. She has been married this past May, still in newlywed stage, with her dog, Sergeant Pepper. I'm not going to talk about where that name came from. I don't know. So I'm pretty sure it's a cute dog, though.
It's a Beatles reference.
Oh, okay.
My mom really liked the Beatles. So.
She is running for General Sessions Civil Court Division 2 come August 6th. That you will win. All right. Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
So let's get started. Judge Pollard, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
I see you're suited and booted. I like it. I like it. So you deal with a lot of family matters, a lot of juvenile cases. One of the things I would like to ask is the dockets that you cover with those civil and delinquency juvenile cases dealing with families. It's a lot of heavy emotions there. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of crying. People don't want this to happen. You have to figure out what's best. How do you balance that with not being too compassionate and also following the law? Like, how do you fit that perfect, what would you call it? A happy medium where your emotions are not taking over your decision, but the law is.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you stated, the overall interest at juvenile court is to do what's in a child's best interest. Mm-hmm. So in handling cases, we have to be careful to listen to the facts, know what the law is, but also look at each case and behind the case, because typically families find themselves in front of the court because they have suffered some trauma to include poverty, socioeconomic issues, lack of stability. So genuinely, we try to pair families, children with services so that we can fix those issues. That's the demonstration of compassion. But at the same time, I'm firm and I want to hold the parties accountable. So it is a delicate balance. You have to look behind the case and look what the problems are, try to find solutions to those problems, but at the same time, make certain people are held accountable.
That sounds fair to me. Very great response. Thank you for that. I would imagine that could be difficult because at the end of the day, you're human. You have a heart, and I know certain things tug on you. But you also want to do the right thing. So I appreciate you breaking it down for us. That makes me feel comfortable. I'm sure it makes other people feel comfortable.
I hope so.
Let's talk about, so I'm a single dad. My story is a little unorthodox, but I'm sure other people go through it. So, and I rarely talk about this, but I feel like this is a good show and a good platform to kind of touch on it. I have 3 daughters. 2 of those, and I'm not asking you to preside my case. let me be clear. But 2 of those daughters, unfortunately, were left with me without a lot of notice, without any notice. Mm. And this was at a very young age. I think they were like 6 and 3. So now they're 27 and 24. And I've had them all that time. And so my next question is a very, very personal one that I would like to hear your response on, because you don't hear, and I'm going to do a show about this, and it's called Single Fathers, the Unseen, because you don't hear a lot about single fathers. Mm-hmm. Everywhere there's single mothers, and no knock. I mean, I've gained a huge respect for single mothers because I played a role in not having any help. I played a role in trying to determine what to do next, putting myself last, sacrificing, daycare fees, how to do hair. I mean, that's enough. You know?
That's a lot.
And I also noticed girls are very expensive, more expensive than boys. You know, I can go to the barber shop. You know, he make me mad. I can hit him in the chest. I can't do that with a girl. You know, she got a lot of accessories. They got bow reds, hair grease, you know, brushes. I don't like this brush. I need a rat tail comb. I don't even know. I had to figure out what they were. So, I mean, all these different things and expenses that I had to figure out along the way. So my next question is, so there was a bill passed this year that would have changed how custody works or determined in juvenile cases. And that House bill was 1131, more so pushed by my friend, Antonio Harvey. He kind of led that, but it didn't pass. I don't know if this fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who you ask. But can you explain if fairness is already incorporated with both parents? First of all, that House bill, just for those who are not familiar, is more so trying to create 50-50 with mother and father, straight down the middle. Currently, it's not like that. I guess by default, would be a safe term that mothers automatically have custody of the child, and fathers can get visitation, certain amount of hours, certain amount of days spent with the child. Naturally, in any other format, you know, things would be 50-50. If you got two people in a room and you're stuck in the elevator and all you got is a Snicker bar, you're going to try to split that Snicker bar 50-50. If you're on an island and you only got one bottle of water, you're going to try to share that bottle of water 50-50 with you and that person. But it's not like that when it comes to parenting. So can you kind of explain the fairness that's already there, or why, if you could? Just tell me what parameters you can talk on that.
Sure. Well, the law does have built-in protections regarding fairness. And when you're in juvenile court and you're dealing with custody issues, you're primarily dealing with custody issues with unmarried parents. So there is a presumption that custody of the child is with the mother. The mother had the child. So we know she's the mother of the child. A father, when he asserts his rights as the parent to that child, the law does require us to try to set a visitation schedule to be as equal as possible. The child has a right to have parenting time with both children, and that should be as equal as possible. Again, we look at the best interest, but the statute does require us to look at a litany of factors in making that custody and visitation schedule. There has been a fairly recent change in the law where we can consider whether or not a parent has paid child support, and whether or not a parent's time with the child has been restricted or limited in some way. So though, in addition to that, there's also a catch-all phrase of any other relevant information that should be considered when setting a custody and visitation schedule. But once all of those things are factored in, we're looking for the best interest of the child and which parent has the best means to provide financially, emotionally, medically, and any other way for the child. So those are the parameters that are used when we set a visitation and custody arrangement.
Okay.
But fairness is factored in to that.
Okay. So basically, signing a birth certificate doesn't indicate the fairness of the child. You have to look at stability, living arrangements, how available are you based on your career, things of that nature. Well,
signing the birth certificate does name you the father, but it does not. There's nothing in the statute that automatically gives you the 50-50 time. You have to come in and petition the court for parentage to be established and for a custody and visitation schedule.
Okay. So 50-50 is only when
the father asserts his rights.
and then when the child is conceived. Just joking. Just joking. Okay, great answer. You shed some light on some of it for me. I appreciate that. So let's talk about family court a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest misconception do you think people out there have about family court? Like, for example, let's say I have an aunt or a brother that's fighting to get my child because they feel like I'm not suited. I travel too much, or I'm on drugs, or whatever the case may be. And they don't like the court system in our business, as people say. What is the biggest misconception you feel like on the outside looking in that they have that you can shed some light on to kind of clarify that or clean that up?
I think the biggest misconception about courts is that families lose. And that's really not the case, at least not at juvenile court. When people come to juvenile court, it's clearly because there's a problem. There could be issues of dependency and neglect. It could be truancy issues. And just specifically as it relates to those, when parents come for those reasons, the automatic response isn't to necessarily rip a child away from his or her family. As a court, we try to identify what the issues are. If it's homelessness, if it's lack of stability, if it's mental health issues, drug-related issues, the court will partner or pair a family with resources to try to correct those problems. And the ultimate first goal is to try to return a child to his or her parent. But when that's not possible, of course, we look to grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, and then non-relatives. So we try to help first and fix the issue. So sometimes when people come to court, once they've gone through the process, they walk out in a better situation. So it's not always a situation where families lose. It can be a situation where families win because they've been connected to resources.
Great perspective. Great perspective. Thank you. You probably got a lot of votes with that response. But one thing I wanted to add personally is something I didn't even realize. And like I said, I had to learn by obtaining sole custody of my girls. There's things I had to learn. Like, being their father, I didn't know I actually had to get custody of them because I thought being their father was enough, but it's not. So there is a process that you actually have to gain custody, even though you were a part of creating that child, which kind of blew my mind.
Well, you have to think about it from this perspective. It's going to protect you and it will protect the child because at birth, we know who the mother is. Mm-hmm. There have been instances where I can say on child support where it has come up 15, 16 years later, the father finds out that he's not actually the father and he's been on child support for that entire time. So when you assert your rights and you can prove by a means of a DNA test that you are the father, you can have more comfort in moving forward, establishing and maintaining that relationship with the child as opposed to assuming you're the father, only to find out years later that that may not be the case. So you can see the hidden protections in that.
I can, but I always thought it was a joke when they said mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
No, that is absolutely true.
Very true.
Very true.
Because I remember as I was gaining custody, going through the process, I proved, I had, report cards, shot records, all the good stuff. And the judge pretty much, who remain nameless, but the judge pretty much said, hey, Mr. Banks, you're wasting my time. You're taking care of your children. My docket is full with things that need my attention. Mm-hmm. Go take your children home. So that more so was a testament to what I was doing well, but also me creating the structure for them to make that process easy. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you shedding light on it.
We need more fathers like you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not running for anything, but thank you. I'm going to pivot over to Magistrate Pro 4. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. You're looking so studious over there. Great posture. I appreciate it. There's something I wanted to ask you. There's something I noticed. And this is your opportunity to explain to me, maybe who else may be wondering. There's a significant signature about the lavender or color purple with you. I noticed every single, I'll say 80% of the pictures I've seen you got on purple or lavender, even today. You want to explain that?
Lavender symbolizes wisdom, fairness, and innovation in the judiciary, and that's the message I want to send to the people of Shelby County.
Can you repeat that?
Purple lavender shades represent wisdom, fairness, and innovation in the judiciary, and that is the message that I'm sending.
I didn't know that. That is perfect. That is perfect. So did you decide to start wearing it when you got into law, or did you wear it in high school?
No, this is part of my campaign.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. I like it. Good.
Thank you.
So you worked in law for several years, now civil judgeship. Why?
I started my career in public service immediately after graduating from law school. I was in the civil litigation clinic where I requested domestic violence cases. So I knew right away that whatever I got into would involve helping people. And I was at legal services for almost 8 years in their family law domestic violence unit. And an opportunity came up to be appointed as a judicial commissioner, and I decided to continue on my role of public service in that area.
Okay. Criminal law.
Well, it is mostly criminal law, general sessions, criminal law, but we also listen to civil orders of protection, which is a large part of our docket.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So there's a lot of talk or chatter with judicial commissioners, mainly around bail decisions. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. I would agree.
Break down what judicial commissioners actually do in relation to that.
Well, judicial commissioners set all of the initial bonds except for first-degree murder. And so we get all the information, we apply the facts to the law with public safety being our primary consideration, and we set the initial bond. If the person is unable to make the bond, everyone is entitled to a bond, by the way, except for first-degree murder cases. Then the bond is revisited in the bail hearing room or in a judge's courtroom at that point.
Okay. Just so everyone knows, Magistrate Pro 4 is running for General Sessions Civil Court Division 2, correct?
Yes.
Which you will win.
Thank you.
I think both of you will win.
Thank you.
So I have some questions for both of you. I really want to dive in more so who you are as a person. Clearly, you have the vernacular to have this conversation about law, but who are you? You know what I mean? Like, I really want people to know who you are, because if I vote for somebody, it's not necessarily about their profession. It has a lot to do with their character. So I think it's important for people to know. I kind of want to show your character as well as your profession. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yes.
Who were you before these robes? Before the robes, like, did your parents help shape your decision? Did you, when you were a kid on the swings, you're like, I'm going to be a judge one day. Watch, you'll see. Like, I mean, did your parents was like, you're going to go to college, you're going to be a judge? Like, how did you travel from a little girl to being behind the bench?
Well, I was a little girl. I grew up in North Carolina. I grew up primarily in a single-parent household. I grew up with a strong faith, family, and a sense of integrity. So my mom always taught me that education was the key that would open a lot of doors. that integrity was important, especially when no one was watching, and that hard work is a must. She also instilled in me that service is not an option, but is truly a responsibility. So I saw that she helped people all the time. So I think that's where my compassion for service really started. I didn't grow up always thinking I would be a judge. When I started college, the way I went about deciding what to major in was, what is the major that would make certain I would be able to take care of myself? And at the time, it was computer science.
So
was
money, you went after money, basically.
Nobody's
judging
wanted
you.
to
Go
be
ahead.
able
No,
to take care of myself.
Stability.
Stability.
I got you.
So that's how I chose that major. So before, my first career was as a computer programmer. It was interesting to be able to solve problems, but my compassion to help people, to be more involved in the community, led me to want to solve problems more on a human level instead of a computer level. So that's what directed my path to get into law.
Okay. So that's perfectly fine. My youngest daughter, she's 20, and she's changed her mind 3 different times. And I was like, well, why you want to do this? Well, they make more than this position, or this career makes more than this.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay. So
Well, I was also, before the robe, I was also a mother.
yeah.
I was a wife who had to balance,
Oh, yeah.
real work with being a nurturer, a provider, a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
So
And you don't get paid for that.
no. But as a woman in this profession, we oftentimes find ourselves having to balance.
It doesn't stop.
Balance a lot.
Yeah. My hat goes off to you.
I had a lot of life experiences that shaped why I decided to go into law. My dad was raised in Mississippi. My mom was raised in Ohio, and my grandmother fled with her children down to Memphis. And my parents met at a party in Coldwater, Mississippi. My dad is a retired DJ, and he's a retired school teacher, and he's a retired FedEx worker. My mom was an X-ray technician all the way till I was about in 3rd grade. And at that point, she was having some problems walking, and she ended up being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And that just changed our whole childhood and our whole life, because the focus of our family was making sure that everything was okay with my mom's illness. So my parents were supportive, but they were not saying, you need to go do this. You need to make sure you're finishing your homework. My drive was self-driven at that point. And I went from wanting to be a teacher to wanting to just knowing that I needed to be able to help people, because my mom experienced so many different issues with accommodations and obstacles and trying to get medicine and trying to schedule doctor's appointments in, getting transferred over and over and over again on the phone, multiple doctor's appointments, hospital stays over and over and over again. I just wanted to make sure people didn't feel the way that me and my twin sister felt when we were, navigating all of that. And, when I got to Central High School, they had a mock trial team. When I went to Rhodes, they had a mock trial team, and it just kind of pieced together.
Okay. I didn't know you had a twin sister.
I do.
What's her name?
Leah.
Leah and Shayla. Okay. Something new I learned. Very good information. So I host certain parties, different parties here in the city. Sometimes some rooftop parties, some functions. I was wondering if your father would come out of retirement to DJ for me. Well, I'm just kidding.
He's probably DJing, just not telling us. Okay. He's supposed to be happily retired.
Yeah.
But he's probably DJing a few parties and not telling us.
So again, each one of these questions are for both of you. So they're toss up. First
Okay.
one responds, have at it. When did you first think I want to be in a courtroom? When did that switch go off and you was like, I want to be in a courtroom?
Probably.
Was it Judge Judy? Like,
As an attorney or as a judge?
either.
Okay. As an attorney, I was definitely scanning documents at Federal Express. I went straight from college to Federal Express because I was so exhausted from being in school, and I had taken the LSAT just in case. And, it's a reality check when you're doing something repetitive over and over again. I was like, let me just go ahead and apply to law school.
Okay. What
Well,
about you?
I knew I wanted to be on the bench as a lawyer. Because when I represented parents, I kind of felt like sometimes they were not always heard and seen. And so I made it a point to say, if I were ever on the bench, I would make certain that everyone had the opportunity to be heard and seen the way that I had hoped some of my clients were. So I believe as an attorney is when I first had the desire to be on the bench, to bring another perspective while also following the law.
Okay.
I was advocating for my clients going between circuit court and 201 Poplar or the Walter Bailey Criminal Justice Center. That was when I realized that I wanted to be a judicial commissioner. I had practiced in front of the judicial commissioners for a long time, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody was receiving all of the remedies that they were requesting.
And I kind of want to give both of you your flowers because I know Magistrate Pearl Ford, you added some diversity, I think, in my opinion. Being both of you actually, just being Black women in law, it's not an easy path. It takes a lot of perseverance, to travel the path and to be where you are and to continue to try to get seats where you are, where it's usually just like a lot of things, male-dominated fields out there, and you all have what do you call breaking the ceiling, or you're kicking the door down, or you're making a position for yourselves. So, what do you have to say to little girls? Because there's little girls out there that's poverty-stricken, and the only thing they know is hookahs and twerking right now, right? So how do you change their perspective for them to say, hey, I'll never be a judge. I see these ladies on this podcast, but I can never do that. I'm just going to go work at a distribution center. I'm not even going to try. Like, how do you change their perspective for that little girl that's out there thinking that?
I would encourage them not to sell themselves short, to identify what it is that they want to do. And if they are truly interested in getting into the law, to get a mentor. Get a mentor who can navigate you through the process. At a minimum, it requires a 4-year undergraduate degree. You don't have to major in any particular area. My undergraduate degree was in computer science. But to be a lawyer, you have to be able to read, you have to be able to write, and you have to be able to analyze things. So perhaps a major in English or mass communication or something that's going to hone your analytical skills is something that would be a good path for someone to major in who may consider going into law. But I would tell a young person, you can do it. You just have to figure out what the path is and execute. It can be done.
Great advice.
Definitely, I would tell that little girl to go for it, and I would invite her to come to our courtroom and observe us. It is amazing how many doors are open just by seeing people in the role, on the bench, doing the job. It's very encouraging. I remember one time after a case was disposed of, someone passed me up a note, and it said something about my hair. The little girl written something about my hair, and I was later told the little girl had the same type of hair, and because I wear my hair natural, and so she was just so enamored that I was on the bench and my hair was blown out, And I think it's just really important to see people doing the job.
Okay, great. Domestic violence. I think in some capacity, you both deal with it to a certain degree. How do you find space for empathy without making emotional decision versus making the right decision when it comes to things like that? Because, I don't want to highlight the gender, but if you're a woman, you hear these cases, and how do you separate yourself and not necessarily get an out-of-body experience, but how do you stay on the path of making the right decision that what the law says versus I feel empathy for this young lady or young man or whatever the case may be or child that's going through something violent?
I think that our burden of proof is our checks and balances in that situation. And I think that temperament goes a very long way, regardless of the outcome for either party. If your temperament is calm and understanding of the situation, that person is more likely to feel like they were heard in court and that the decision was fair, regardless of the outcome.
Well, I think compassion and requiring holding someone accountable can coexist at the same time. It's just the facts, what the law is, and applying it accordingly.
And the votes are just stacking up with you, these one liners. No. So there's a fight between intense work and community service, right? So how do you protect your peace? How do you separate and say, hey, it's time for me to decompress, go home and be a wife. I got to get these dockets out of my head. Like for me, I go smoke a cigar. I'm not going to offer you a cigar. What do you do? What do you do?
Well, I pray. I spend a lot of time with my family. And sometimes I just like to be quiet. That's how I decompress. I have learned over the years to compartmentalize a lot of the work that I do for my peace sake. Because if I don't, I would bring home abused children, battered women. But I have to learn how to compartmentalize it, leave it, and come back to who I am beyond the robe, which is a mother, a wife, and a nana.
Okay. All right, Nana. What about you?
Well, I like to pray with my husband. We like to go and visit local businesses, support everything that's going on in Memphis. Memphis gets kind of a bad rap sometimes, but there are so many great places to go and festivals and things to do. And we really like to make sure we're being a part of that. I also really love gardening a lot. I've gotten into trying to create a perennial garden so that one day I can sit on that rocking chair and just the garden comes up without much effort. Mm-hmm. So that's my long-term plan is that perennial garden.
Okay. What would both of you tell if you had your 25-year-old self in front of you and you were looking at her, what would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
Don't give up. Stay the course. All the twists and turns you're taking are for a reason, and you will get there. Just stay the course.
All right.
I would say everything's going to be okay and try not to worry about everything so much.
Okay. Simple and sweet. I like it. Finish this sentence for me. Justice looks like
fairness.
I was going to say fairness. Justice looks like being treated fairly regardless of the circumstances, regardless of who you are. Justice is fair.
Okay. So this is a portion of the show. First of all, let me give you your flowers in my own way. I feel like both of you will win your position. I feel like both of you will add value to Shelby County and the city of Memphis. I think your path, your resume has a lot of substance to it. And I think people trust you. And I think that takes you a long way. Because right now there's a lot of people that are not fans of voting. They're not. They have trust issues. They don't believe this. It's all a scam. It's political this, political that. But I think that's why I wanted to create this platform so people can see you underneath the skin, so to speak. So they can see that you are wives, you do have families. Even though you deal with family court, you have children, you have grandchildren. So it's not like you're separated from it, but you're creating fairness and structure for it. And we appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is a portion that I call Don't Make Me Preach. This is where I summarize this episode with my own touch. And this is what I have to say. So today I met two stunning women who are ladies of the law. And they're running for seats. And one thing I would like to say, they're both trailblazers in my opinion. And for them to be able to sit at a table that's usually dominated by men, and they're making their footprint. They're making a lot of noise, and we appreciate them. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are not fans of voting, but I would say to you, voting is important. If you don't vote, then you can't complain. You have to make sure you put yourself in position to have an argument about something by putting yourself in the game. So if you don't have a dog in the fight, then you shouldn't be fighting. So make sure you go out and vote, and all the information will be at the end of this podcast. But in closing, I know you can be appointed by the people. People have a lot of strength. They have a lot of voice in what your position could be. But I want to tell you there's a difference between people appointing you and God anointing you for a position. And I'll close with that. This is Grown Man Talking. My name is Devin Banks. Thank you for watching.